Hello, Wargamers, and welcome back to Purple Druid Presents Wargame Culture. Today, we are going to be exploring another set of siege rules in our research for the Hex Trail campaign board game. Today's scenario will be a confrontation between it'll be a American Civil War themed confrontation with Union troops assaulting a Confederate fortified position. The rules that we'll be using come from the Portable Wargame Pike and Shot edition. And so we'll be playing, as you can see, on a gridded surface. Each of the colored squares represents one grid area, and the small white dice represent the strength points of each unit. These are going to be considered company-sized units. And then here we have a 10-sided dice inside the fortress or fort. We are going to say that these walls are made of stone, which gives them 10 SP each. So of course we have 6 10-sided dice to track those. We are also going to assume that the guns, the artillery, we have one here, and then there's one inside the fort. Those are light guns, and as such would be ineffective against the fort itself. However, they will still be effective against infantry and cavalry. And for our scenario today, the setup is that Union scouts had captured a Confederate courier leaving Fort Bradford with an urgent request for reinforcements, as they had managed to capture the fort from the Union garrison by interdicting their weekly supply caravan. General Bluebottle, here with the orange tuft on his hat, has taken a small contingent to get it back. By moving near the fort at night, Bluebottle was able to bring his force close by with a short early morning march. General Bluebottle has average soldiers with good morale. General Greystone, right here, who also has an orange tuft on his hat, within the fort also has average troops. They also have good morale, though tempered somewhat by the fact that they awoke this morning to see Union troops outside the fort, and those Union troops outnumber them. So for purposes of determining victory, the Union has 12 units, which according to the Portable Wargame rules will give them an exhaustion point of 6. The Confederates have 8 units, which will give them an exhaustion point of 4. As I mentioned, the walls have 10 strength points. The infantry each have 4. The cavalry have 3. The artillery have 2. And the general, who sort of is with each type of unit, has 3. And as per Portable Wargame rules, any shooting or melee combat, the units will hit on a 5. For shooting, they will get a +1 to their D6 roll. If they have not moved, they will get another +1 if their general is in the same area, and there will be a -1 if, for example, the Union troops are firing at the Confederates inside a fortified area. So that's our layout, that's our setup. Let's go ahead and roll initiative and get this battle started. All right, the Confederates have a 5 on the gray die, so they will be going first. For turn 1, the Confederates can go first, and since the infantry can only fire 2 spaces, that's 1, that's 2, they are unable to reach with their muskets any of the Union troops. So the only unit that can fire will be the cannon, and they will hit on a 4. All right, so that's a 5. All right, so the cannon has fired into this grid area. It is a hit. So we will select one of the units. On a 1 to 3, they'll take 1 strength point of damage. On a 4 to 6, they can retreat and not take a strength point. So that's a 1. So they're going to go ahead and take the damage. And that will do it for the Confederate turn. For the Union troops, as I mentioned, the infantry can move 2 and shoot up to 2. However, if they shoot, they have to reduce their movement by 1. So theoretically, the troops would be able to move forward 1 area and then 1 to be able to fire into the fort. So what we'll do, let's go ahead and do that. We'll have these units move here. So now we have 3 units here which will fire into the fort. They need 5s to hit, -1 for being in cover, so they will need 6s. And they get 1. And so the infantry, one of the infantry in this unit here is a 6. So they actually are able to fall back and not take the damage, which is what they are going to do. So they'll fall back 1 grid area. And then this unit, or these 3 units here, will fire. They do not get any 6s. And so that then will be the end of the Union turn. All right, for turn 2, we'll roll an ish. And we have a 4 and a 2. So the Confederates will get to go first again. Now, the troops inside the fort have an opportunity to fire upon the advancing Union troops. So that's what we'll do. Starting here, we have 2 units firing at this area. And they'll hit on a 5, but they get a +1 because their commander is there. So they'll hit on 4s, which they do not get a 4. And then that will show that they fired. For this group here, these 2 will fire onto this area. And they did get a 4, so that'll be 1 hit. Union troops roll, and they have a 5. So they can fall back or they can take damage, so they're going to go ahead and fall back 1 to maintain their strength. Union's turn. Once again, this unit here will move forward 1, and then they will fire into there. They'll have a 5 to hit, -1 for the fortification, which will give them a 6. However, these 2, which have not moved, will get a +1, which will give them a 4. So we're going to roll 1 die for the 5 plus, nope, and then 2 for the 4s. Let's no again. All right, on the other side, we have 3 units that have not moved. They need 4s, we get 1. And for the group inside, I don't know if you can see that, that is a 1. And so one of those units will take a hit. All right, and that'll be the end of turn 2. Actually, it's not the end of turn 2 because I still have 2 cannons that can fire into the fortification and attempt to see if they can't injure some troops. They need 5s. They get a 5. And I believe, according to the rules, that they can hit the walls on a 4+, but they can shoot towards the inside on a 5. You know what? I want to pause this and double check. So yes, the cannons may fire at the troops that are manning the wall and shooting out themselves. So that is 1 hit. And so we'll roll for that troop. And that'll be a 1. They will take damage. All right, and that's the end of turn 2. For turn 3, we'll roll an ish. And it's a tie, so we'll roll again. And this time the Confederates have it. So, this unit will move forward. Take a shot there. That's a 1, that's a miss. These two need 3s. They get 1 hit. And that's a 4. This unit will fall back. Over here we have the cannon and the trooper, neither of which have moved, so they'll get a +1, so they'll hit on 4s. And those both miss. The Union troops, these fellows will move forward. They'll roll 1 die. They need a 6. They don't get it. The other 2 need 5s. They don't get it. At the other end here, these 3, they need 5s. They don't get it. And these 2 cannons, 2 5s, 2 hits. So 1 in that and 1 on that. So a 2. This one will take more damage. And then a 3. This one will be damaged. All right, and that's the end of turn 3. All right, so for turn 4, we'll roll initiative again. And General Bluebottle is getting antsy. He really wants to take back this fort out in the borderlands. So what we'll do is we'll roll a die regardless of who has the initiative, and on a 4+, this turn the general will order his troops to storm the fortress, and then next turn we'll add 1 to that, so it'll be a 3+, and so on. And this time the Union has the initiative, and let's see if Bluebottle orders a storming. He does not. So 1, 2, 3 shots into there. They hit on 5s, -1 for the fortress, +1 for not moving. They will hit on 5s. They get 1 hit. Troops inside take damage. Oop. We're just going to rotate the damage around here. These 3, once again, they hit on 5s. So 2 3s and a 5, that's 1 hit. And that's a 3. That'll be damage on the troops. There's a freaking 1, there it is. And then we have our 2 cannons, which will fire into the fortress as well. And they miss. All right, the Confederates. 1, 2, 3 shots into this area. They hit on 5s. +1 for not moving. That's 4s. So that'll be 2 hits. A 2 and a 5. One can fall back, and one has to take a hit. So in this case, this one will fall back, and this one will take a hit. On the other side, we have a cannon and a trooper. And again, they hit on 4s. Right? No, they hit on, I'm sorry, they hit on 5s. They haven't moved, that's a 4, and their general's in the same, so that'll be 3s. And they get 2 hits this time. And one is a 3 and one is a 5. So one will take damage and one is going to fall back. All right. And that's the end of turn number 4. For turn 5, the Union have the initiative. And this time, Blue Bottle will order a storming on a 3+. And there it is. So, the way storming works is that troops may move until they become into an area adjacent to a fortification, and then they may assault after that. All right, so the Union troops will be ordered to move forward and storm the fort. So the way the rules work is when the unit moves into an area adjacent to the fortification, they must stop. So they can move 1, and they can still shoot. This one can move 2, but they cannot. This unit here will move forward 2, and they will not be able to shoot. These 2 units will both move forward. They will not be able to shoot. And then finally, this unit will move forward. They will be able to shoot. I gotta figure out a better way to do these strength points. All right, so we have 2 units that can shoot, one here and one there. They'll fire 1 shot into this area and 1 shot into this area. So we have a 1, that's a miss, and we have a 4, that is also a miss. Now, the troops inside the fort may fight back. So we have 3 troops here that are going to fire down into this area here. A 6 and a 2. That will be 1 hit. And they have a 3, so they're going to do damage. We're just going to do damage to this one. Over here, we have 2 units that can fire into this grid. A 4 and a 6. Those will both hit. So, for the one that's already wounded, a 4, they can take a wound, or they can fall back. And the one that's not wounded must take a wound. So, they've been ordered to storm the fort, so they're going to go ahead and take that wound, and then they can storm the fort next turn. Yeah, that'll do it. All right, so turn 6. Rolling it. Tie. And the Confederates have the initiative. All right, so let's see what we do here. All right, so for turn 6, the group inside, they can go ahead and shoot because these folks are trying to climb the rampart. And then on their turn, they'll be able to do a melee against the Confederates. So this artillery piece will fire at this artillery piece, and that will be a hit, and that's a 6. They do not want to fall back, so they're going to go ahead and take that damage. This soldier, this infantry, will fire at this infantry unit, and again the commander is there, so they need a 5, a 4, a 3. No, they miss. Here we have 3 units. They will be firing at these 2. A 5 and 2 6s. That is definitely going to be 3 hits. We have everyone takes damage, and one of them will take 2. Now, for the melee, the Union troops will climb the rampart. So we have 3 here at -1. And again, they need 5s. They're attacking the rampart. They need a 6. So they don't get any. Over here we have 4. They get 1 6. Which is a 2. So this fellow here will be eliminated this turn. However, he does get to fight back, as does the general. So we have 3 fighting back here. They need 5s to hit, plus 1 for being in the fortification, so that'll be 4s. And they'll get 2 hits. And 2 5s. These are going to go ahead and take the damage because they are motivated. On the other end, we have 2 attack backs. Those are 2s. Those will miss. All right, so that is the end of the ruling for the combat. So according to the rules, if a storming party fails to defeat the defenders by reducing their SP to 0 or causing them to retreat, it fails to gain a foothold on the rampart or force an entry through a door or gateway, and must either continue in close combat for another tactical turn or withdraw. So, as I mentioned, these fellows are quite motivated. And so for turn 7, we'll roll for initiative, and the Union get it. Now we're going to roll for combat, and this will be simultaneous. So once again, we have 4 attacks. Over here, they hit on 5s, -1 for climbing the rampart. They need 6s. They do not get any. There are 3 units there, 2 units there. They get to fight back, and they get a +1 because of the general, so they hit on 4s. And they get 1 hit, and they will cause damage. We'll do that to this one. Now over here, Union troops need 6s. They do not get any. The Confederate troops need 4s. Yeah. No. Yeah. And they get 1. And so that'll be damage again. We're going to go ahead. Forgot what those were. Well, you know what? It doesn't really matter because they're going to have to withdraw anyway. So, after 2 turns, the storming party has been unable to gain a foothold by reducing the defenders to 0 or forcing them all back. And so they will have to fall back 1 area. And that is the end of turn 7. So at the beginning of turn 8, I just want to take a moment here and theory craft a little bit about the rules for this game. Greystone, the Confederate force in the fort, is still in a strong position. They haven't lost any units after being stormed at 2-to-1 odds. And Tony Bath's rules likely would not have predicted this. As for Blue Bottle, he now has 3 units that are down to 1 SP and 1 good turn of shooting for the Greys, and he will lose 25% of his storming force, which is half of what he needs to lose to face exhaustion. So this kind of situation makes me feel like the Portable Wargame needs a morale mechanic of some kind. I know it's built into the strength point and exhaustion rules, but this feels like, and I emphasize it's just my opinion, an inflection point here, especially if you're playing a campaign game where losses will matter more over time. You know, if this is just a one-off, hey, let's play this game, you can afford to be a little more aggressive. But if it's a campaign game, you need to definitely worry about your casualties for future operations. So let's go ahead and roll initiative for turn 8 and see what happens. All right, so the Confederates will be going first. So the cannon and the infantry here are going to go ahead and open up on that grid area. And like I said, they need 4s, so that will be 1 hit, and a 3, they will take 1 damage. So they're going to try to maintain their force, so they will take that one there. All right, in the other, here we have 1, 2, 3, and they are going to go ahead and fire into this area and try to reduce the forces there. All right, we got a 5, a 2, and a 1, so that's just going to be 1 hit. And it's a 5. In order to maintain their forces, this one is going to fall back. So that's a really interesting situation there. All right, so now we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Well, let's see. These 4 will fire into this grid. And that's going to be 3 hits. Looks like we're getting 1 good turn of shooting, not for the Confederates, but rather for the Union. All 3 can take damage, or they can all fall back. Well, in this situation, again, once again, the commander is going to fall back. this one will fall back, and this one will take the hit. And then here we'll have these two fire into that grid. And that will be one hit. And they're going to go ahead and take the hit. And then we can have both of these cannons can fire as well now that they're firing over top. And those will both miss. So that will be the end of turn 8. And at this point, we're still at no losses. Turn 9, initiative. The Union. The Union are going to attempt to storm once more. Because they've definitely got a big advantage, and they should be able to overcome in this quadrant. Yeah, that looks good. All right, so in Union turn, they'll get to do melee. So we're going to have 4 attacks into this quadrant here with the cannon. And they need 6s. They get 1 hit. That's all they needed. That 1 hit is a 4. That cannon can either fall back or take the hit. They have nowhere to fall back to, so they're going to be eliminated. And that will now give the Union access to the fortress in that area. All right, we have 2 attacks here. And neither of them are successful. The Confederate troops are able to fight back. There's 3. And again, they need 4s, and that'll be 3 hits. One is an automatic damage, and then 2 are pushbacks. Well, I'm going to rule that these are both eliminated. And then the Confederates will be able to attack next. So I'm going to say that these 2 here will be able to attack them. In the ramparts, they'll be within the fort. So that will be 2 attacks at 5s, plus 1 for the general. So that'll be 4s, that's 2 hits. And 1 damage and 1 pushback. What was this one? I think this one was a 3. I'm going to make that a 2. And this one will get pushed back so he doesn't die. This one can also take a shot here. That's That's a 3. That's not going to work. And then these 3 can also shoot into that grid area. 3 hits. One automatic wound and 2 potential pushbacks. So we're going to take the wound on this one. Actually, we're going to go ahead and take the wound on all of them because they are trying their best to get into the fort here. All right, and that will be the end of turn 9. All right, so for turn 9, we're going to roll initiative. The Union get the initiative. However, this is going to get really ugly. The Union forces, good grief, are all going to turn and face this direction. These forces will face this direction. So now we're going to have a very, very ugly melee. Everybody gets to attack. The Union forces will be needing 5s. So let's roll that first. They get 2 6s. And a 5 and a 3. So 1 wound and 1 pushback. There is nowhere to go to push back, so both of these will be wounds. And then we roll a d6 to see if the general is going to take a wound or not. He does not. All right. Now, these will fight back. They'll get to roll 2 dice, +1 for the general. They need 4s, that's 1 hit. And 1 pushback. So I'm going to put him up there because he's still going to be able to be attacked by the other. Because again, it's simultaneous. So now, these 3 will hit on 4s because they're attacking on the flank. And that's going to be 3 hits. 1 wound and 2 pushbacks. So that is a total of 1 wound and 3 pushbacks. So theoretically, if I were to distribute these, I could put the wound on this one, and then all of the Union forces are forced back out of the fort. And now the Union are definitely in a real situation. Turn 11. The Union get to go first. The Union have 5 units that are down to 1. And they've lost 2. If they lose the rest of these, they're going to be in bad shape. So I'm going to look at this from a campaign perspective, And as the Union player, General Bluebottle is going to decide to retire from the field, because at this point he can no longer sustain the losses that he may need in order to retake the fortress. So at this point, we're going to have the Union infantry will pull back. They can move 2 without shooting. And for their purposes, they will also be able to retreat out of range of being fired upon. And these 2 are just going to retreat off the board that way. Which means that for the Confederate turn, well, you know what? We're going to take 2 pot shots with the cannons. Right into there. A 5 and a 3. They need 6s. That's not going to hit. So now the Confederates, these 3 here, will be able to take one last. Oh no, because these guys can move also. So there, yeah. So everyone's moved out of range, and yeah. So that'll be the end of the battle. The Confederate side has won, to the extent that they were able to maintain their hold on the fortress, and the Union was forced to withdraw with some serious damage to their forces. So it's interesting how this played out in a very different way than the Tony Bath way. And it was fun. I think it'd be obviously more fun with another person to go head to head against. And I think it would also be interesting if we did this with some cards instead of the dice, and let the cards decide some of our strategy, a la Battle Cry / Commands and Colors. So interesting look, interesting result. And I look forward to getting your feedback. I look forward to seeing what y'all think of what happened here. So please leave a comment down below. Go ahead and like and subscribe. I look forward to sharing more of these videos with you. Thanks, and keep on gaming.